Bonjour and welcome or welcome back to my channel. Claude here. Today I'm going to be doing a review of the book The Essential Lenormand by Rana George. Now, if you've watched my video last week, you would have seen that I reviewed her own Lenormand deck. And this is the book that she has written on how to approach the Lenormand system, which is a divination system of 36 cards. Her deck has 40. I'll leave you a card at the end of this video so that you may want to check out what it looks like. It's absolutely gorgeous, by the way. It's my favorite Lenormand, but yeah. So today it's about her book, and this is a substantial book. And you see, it's got the biggest accolade ever. It tells you on the front, you won't find a better teacher than Rana George. And that was Mary K. Greer who wrote this. I mean, we're talking about big heavy hitter in the tarot world. So this is what the book looks like. As I said, it is a big book. It's very big. There's the spine. It's a Llewellyn published, and that's the back. So, master the keys of wisdom and insights. Lenormand is a 36 card deck with simple, straightforward illustrations that provide direct answers for the reader. For over 150 years, the Lenormand deck has been a popular divination tool around the world, and it is rapidly becoming a phenomenon in the US. Providing step-by-step instructions and a guide to individual card meanings, leading expert Rana George shows how to use Lenormand for predictions on any topic: relationships, work, finances, family, and more. From simple inquiries to critical dilemmas, Lenormand provides a glimpse of the future when you need it most. The Essential Lenormand includes traditional reading methods, Rana George's personal techniques, tips for working with multiple spreads, and ways to use Lenormand with tarot. Use Lenormand to unlock the secrets of your destiny and reveal the knowledge of hidden within. So this is Rana. That's a little picture of her here. Born in Beirut to a long lineage of well-known psychics, seers and mystics, Rana George has used her inherent abilities to study Lenormand for the past 3 decades. Rana leads regular workshops and study groups and is a frequent presenter at conferences. She has also contributed to the design of several Lenormand decks and published many articles on cartomancy. Rana lives in the Woodlands, Texas, and you can see she has a website right here, ranageorge.com. It retails at $24.99 US, and you can find it on Amazon very easily. So that's the beginning. So let's get cracking. This is a heavy book. I'm going to have to put it down. So when you open it, it looks like this. You have a bit more on Rana, if you know about her biography, and then your guide to precise and practical fortune telling. And there's a quote here: "No man can reveal to you aught, but that which already lies half asleep in the dawning of your knowledge." And that was written by Khalil Gibran, or Gibran. I'm not so sure how to pronounce this. And then you've got the table of contents. So you have an introduction, divining and symbols, what is Lenormand, the benefits of reading Lenormand, and how the book is organized. Then it moves on to part 1, beginning with Lenormand. She really starts right from the beginning. So if you have no experiences, this is perfect. And if you're an experienced reader, you're going to grab new techniques, new meanings. It's really very approachable, but also it stretches you. So you've got approaching the Lenormand cards, finding your deck, first things first, questions lead to answers, stick with your system, journal your cards, exercise your deck using a significator or a focus card, and her story with Lenormand. Then you have part 2, a closer look at the 36 cards with a specific reference to nuance cards, and you've got all of them there. Then you have part 3, reading techniques and spread. So you've got quite a few combination drills, the answer line, the box spread, the decision spread, the astrological spread, the pyramid spread, the cross spread, changing a fortune, the grand tableau, which is very well known for when you lay out all of your cards, the Lenormand houses, and step for reading a grand tableau, because it is the most challenging one. You have many cards there. And then you have a number of appendixes. So Appendix A, who was Mademoiselle Lenormand, finding out about who created this system. B is focus cards, C is a quick interpretation guide, D is positive, negative and neutral cards, E has to do with the houses and their attributes, F is the court cards, G is Lenormand and Tarot, how to use them together. Then you have a glossary and acknowledgements. So, I've got to say, you do have, let me tell you how many pages this baby is, because it's heavy. It's challenging my arms and my hands. 384 pages of goodness. Seriously, of real goodness. So, sorry, these are my bookmarks, so I know what I'm doing. You have an introduction, then divining and symbols. What is Lenormand, you know, to explain the actual system. And then she gives you examples. She's very good at that. Putting the cards together. The benefits of reading Lenormand, as in why would you choose this over tarot, for instance, or oracle cards. She goes into this. And then how the book is organized. Then you have a closer look at the 36 cards and then reading techniques and spread. So, let me not jump. Part 1, beginning with Lenormand, approaching the cards. So this is where she talks about getting the basics right. So finding your deck. Questions lead to answers. What kind of questions are good? What questions are not so good? It's the same as with tarot, really, in that respect. Stick with your system. You know, you've got to be consistent. In other words, stick to a set bunch of meanings is what she's trying to say. Journal your cards, which I would recommend to do for tarot as well, for any deck you work with, really. Exercise your deck, in other words, practice with it, using a significator or a focus card, whether you want to or whether you don't want to, you know, have a look at that. Her story with Lenormand, how she came about using that. And then we move on to part 2, a closer look at the 36 cards. And when she says closer look, she's not joking. So she explains to you what she's going to do in the next pages. And she talks about the context, basically, and what each headlines mean. You know, like health, body and spirit. What does she mean by that? Money. What does she mean? Time or timing. What does this mean? Traditional meaning, personal anecdote, and talks about the nuance cards. She says this is a trick that she picked up through the years and thousands of readings. When certain cards come up around the significator, they tend to set the tone of the reading. Over time, she began to lump certain cards together under 4 categories based on the nature of their effects. Some cards are more descriptive than others, and others suggest more of an atmosphere in a situation. Some cards vibrate with action, and others point directly to a sense of time. And the distinction feels fundamental, almost as if these nuance cards belong to different elements. And then she talks about action cards, portrait cards, mood cards, time cards. So I'm going to show you just the first card so you can see how this is set up. So you've got rider, you've got a picture of the rider with the insert here. Number 1, so playing card association, so this is the 9 of hearts. So there's a description and what it generally says, what it means. Then you've got contextual meanings, and this is when she really gets into the nitty-gritty. So you've got future, all of the things that it could possibly mean. Woman or man, nuance, physically. Then you get work, love, health, body and spirit, money, time or timing, advice or action, orientation, objects and areas. So she goes through what this card could mean for all of those topics. Then she gives you a personal story about this card for her, you know, how this card really popped in one of the readings for her, and then its position in the grand tableau. Then she gives you some combinations and examples. She's a very good teacher for that. She really understands that you can't teach people without giving examples. I was a teacher for 16 or 17 years, so yeah, I can see, you know, how she understands that, you know, there's a difference between just giving you a theory and then giving you examples so you can get your head around it. And there's visual clues as well. It really is really nicely done. So for each card, really, you get 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 page. So you get 6 pages per card. I think it's amazing, I really do. And so she goes through all of the cards like this. And then let me move on to the next part. So once you've seen all of the cards, you move on to part 3, reading techniques and spreads. So in this section, she's going to show you different spreads, which I read to you in the table of contents. And again, it's done really nicely. So for instance, let's look at the combination drills, which is the first one she talks about. So she says, getting a handle on the cards and combinations. Free associating with Lenormand. Step 1, assign. Step 2, combine. And then she gives you examples again of how you can combine the meanings. Quite a few of them, as you can see. And then she gives you, you know, like homework to do, creating multiple combinations, because the Lenormand cards mean different things according to what's around them. So she talks about, for instance, create multiple combinations so you have meanings ready at your fingertips. So chart the cards. So for instance, the rider, which is the first card we looked at. So person, place or thing could be a delivery person, a visitor or a bicycle. As an action, the rider would mean go, deliver or act fast. As a description, it could be athletic, fast and young. Other, you could have a horse, because he's always on a horse. Feedback or arrival. And then she suggests doing this for all of your cards, which is very good. It's a very good exercise to do. Then fuse the symbols, pulling 3 cards a day. And then she goes through different things. The answer line, which is, you know, your traditional 3-card reading. And she gives you different options on how to deal with this spread. Plenty of examples of different spreads. The box spread, which is the standard 9 cards, which we see in tarot as well. I like the 9-card spread personally. And again, she really goes into detail on how to read this type of spread. Illustrated again for those people who need visuals. Let's face it, most readers do. The decision spread. So, you know, there is a lot, you see, with option A, option B, and how it looks. There is a lot. There's also an astrological spread in here. She tells you all about the different houses, astrological houses. You can see you've got the thing here. So yeah, she goes in detail. The pyramid spread, the cross spread. I mean, I could show you many spreads from that. So then you have the Lenormand houses, and that's talking about the position of the grand tableau. You know, when I was telling you about the big spread that uses all of the cards, well, they're called houses, the positions, so that's what they are. And, you know, she talks about how they interact with each other. You can see here you've got diagrams, and she shows you how she goes about it and how she looks at it. It's really well done. It's a deep dive. You don't have to go all the way, but that's what I was trying to say. She starts right at the beginning with, you know, choosing your deck, like the basic things, and then she builds you up. So she teaches you and you build your confidence, and you'll get there. You'll get to the grand tableau, no questions asked. She will get you there. So it's really beautifully written, accessible and challenging for the people who are, you know, not experts, but people who have been reading the Lenormand cards for quite a while. So she gives you steps for reading a grand tableau. And again, she goes in depth, but it is written in a light way. It's not difficult. It's as if Rana sat next to you, explaining it to you. She's very easy to understand. And she gives you an example of a grand tableau that she did. Several of them, actually, and goes into depth on how she got the meaning from. And then we move on to the appendixes. So Appendix A is who was Mademoiselle Lenormand, a chronology. So she tells you everything that happened to this extraordinary woman. And, you know, she was... I mean, she lived during the French Revolution. She was baptized on May 27th, 1772, and the revolution was 1789. She read for Napoleon, so you know, she was famous. Appendix B is the focus cards, so you know, cards activated as focus cards or significator. She goes into explaining all of this. And she goes through every single one of them. Oops, I've just lost one of my bookmarks. Oh well. Appendix C I found very useful, is a quick interpretation guide. So if you look for the rider, you've got a few keywords here. News, visitor, delivery, feedback. And obviously you can add to this. But you know, when you begin, it's really nice to have. And then you have Appendix D, positive, negative and neutral cards. So which cards are overall positive, which ones are overall negative and neutral, which again, that's interesting to know. Then you've got the houses and their attributes. So this is a clear reference to the Grand Tableau. And she says that the 36 houses certainly influence the cards that inhabit them, and they can also be chained to gather more in-depth information about a card. So for instance, house 1, which is the rider house, is movement and news. So you may not get the rider in here, but this is what the position in the spread is. And then you have Appendix F, the court cards. So she talks about basically the inserts and what they represent. And then Appendix G, I'm hemorrhaging my bookmark, sorry. Lenormand and Tarot. So how to make them interact. So you've got, for instance, 5 Lenormand and 3 Tarot cards. And she explains, you know, she goes into detail on how to do that. The Celtic Cross plus the Lenormand. So if you use Tarot, that's very interesting. And you can see how she's set that up. And then you have a glossary. So this is the vocabulary she uses in the book. So action card, what does it mean? It's there. Activated cards and so on. So that's quite nifty if you don't understand what she's referring to. And then she has a few acknowledgements at the back. So I mean, this is really, it's a big book. It's amazing. I love it. If you're wondering what book to buy in order to learn the Lenormand system, this is the one I would recommend, the Rana George one. She's an amazing teacher. She breaks down everything very clearly. It's accessible. It's like she's sitting next to you, teaching you basically, and I would recommend it for beginners as well as for seasoned readers, because you will pick up a few techniques and extra meanings to the cards. It really is well worth a read. So I hope you've enjoyed this. Let me know what you think, if you own it, if you're planning on buying it, whatever. Just talk to me in the description box below. I'd love to hear from you. Thank you so much for spending some time with me. I really appreciate it. I wish you a beautiful day, and I'll see you again very soon. Until next time, au revoir.